How about we make some mushroom and onion bisque? And there's 3 quarts of, it's a lot of soup we're making. 3 quarts of chicken broth over there. The onions and the thyme, fresh thyme, all this fresh thyme, going to simmer in the chicken broth. Why am I doing that? It's because I'm so lazy sometimes, and I want to get, you know what it is, to pick all the little leaves off of those thyme. I mean, you could put it in the freezer, and then the leaves pop off very easily. But I don't have the time, pardon the pun. We got equal amounts of mushrooms and onions, and you think that's a lot, but don't forget onions and mushrooms shrink up. And we're not thickening this with flour. I like the technique of using French bread. Just cut up fresh French bread. That will be the thickening agent used in this. Garlic and salt and pepper, and that's about it. So we have, and this time I'm using butter. Why? Because I want the flavor. So the butter's in there. That's about 2 to 3 tablespoons, and we put the onions. And the mushrooms. Not a lot of ingredients here. And this will shrink up to nothing. And to help it shrink up, we're going to put a lid on it. And if somebody used my salt and pepper mix, I'm going to be very upset. It's usually right here. Well, anyway, I'm going to season that in a couple of minutes. We don't need a high flame because we want this, we don't want to color it, we want to cook it easy like. So I'm going to cover that up, stir it, and leave it. Meanwhile, over here, the thyme flavors are coming out of the thyme into the stock soup. I think this is a 7-quart pot. So you can see how much is in there and the level that it's at. And this will take a good, I would say about 20 minutes. Just going to put this lid on there and go away. It's just a moderately low flame, as you can see. Well, it's been about 4 minutes, and as you can see, we have some shrinkage here. Everything is cooking, sweating up nicely. And you don't have to season this now because it's a soup. You can season it at the very end, which I'm going to do. So I'm going to let this cook again for another maybe 10 minutes. Then I'll add the liquid, which is all ready, and I can smell all that thyme cooking. And I'll just take it out with a skimmer, like so. Use one of these, very handy, these Asian Oriental type skimmers. I love them. Anyway, just we'll go and sit down and watch more TV for about 10 minutes. As you can see, now we have a lot of liquid in there, so it's time to add more liquid, which is the chicken broth. 3 cups. I mean 3 quarts. Did you forget to do something? Yes, I did. That's pretty sad. So now we can rectify this little problem by just taking the stems, putting them back in there. I'm not going to let you see what I'm doing. Then I'll strain the soup into the pot. Now that I've corrected a little problem there, I'll add the rest to the and if there are any pieces there, which there are a few, good. Now, just gonna slowly cook this with the lid on because I want to come out with quite a bit of this. Don't forget to put, there's the thickening agent right there, the bread. That's going to change the texture of this bisque. And when I make a crab bisque, I do it the same way. I just like that texture that the French bread gives it. And hopefully, like in most of my recipes, I hope that I have the right ratio from liquid to solid. Usually I'm pretty good. This time I'm not too sure, but like in all cooking, you can make adjustments. Let this simmer. I'm going to let this cook for a half hour. So we're going to quicken things along here. We don't have to wait that full half hour. I'm going to use the speed stick to pure everything that's in there, because none of this is going to be strained, and there's no reason why it has to be strained. And if you strain it, it'll have liquid, and we want something thick. So now, if you don't have one of these, go buy one. And if you're still not going to have one of these, maybe you have a blender. And if you don't have a blender, maybe you have a Cuisinart. So prior to this, adding the liquid, if you have a Cuisinart, I would take all of the mushrooms and the onions only, and put the, no, mushrooms, you have to do it at this point after the bread is really soaked, which is a pain. So it's really best to have this. You put that in the Cuisinart, everything that's in there, without the liquid, and it'll puree it. It takes a little while, and it would work. Uh-oh, I lost my power. And I think now I'm in trouble. Something happened here. Let's see it now. So you keep on doing this. I'm not going to waste film just watching me do this, because this will take me maybe about 10 minutes. I was wrong about 10 minutes. This has only taken me about 2 minutes. But as you can see, I don't push it all the way down, because then things aren't pulled up inside the blade. So you hold it just under the, just off the bottom, and you see the force, everything just spinning around. And what you have here is good texture. Now we take a spoon serve this hot or cold, and I'm serving this cold tomorrow. So what I'm going to do is just let it cool down here. Taste it first, and I'm looking for the flavor of the stock, the thyme, the onions, and the mushrooms. Definitely get the mushrooms. And there was no salt in there. Now when I put the salt in, the flavor is going to come up even more. Very good. That's all there is to it. I'm going to, like I said, cool this. Take the ladle. Let's look at the it's hard to see the texture. It's a little coarse. That's from the bread, and it lays in your mouth differently than if you were using flour. Now I'm going to put the speed stick in there for a little bit longer, but as you can see, the thickness is just right. Now when we were simmering the thyme in that stock, the level went down a little, so we must have lost maybe a cup of liquid. So 3 quarts didn't go in there. 2 quarts, 3 quarts minus a cup. I will put some salt in there and pepper, and tomorrow for every quart of this bisque I will add 1 cup of heavy cream. I'm serving it cold, so I just take it out of the refrigerator, add the heavy cream, and there I have my cold mushroom onion bisque. You want to serve it hot, just put it on the stove like this, and for every quart the same thing, just put a cup of heavy cream in it, bring it to a simple boil, and then just serve it. So this was kind of quick, easy, just a few ingredients went in there. If you notice, see what's laying on the bottom? The bread. So a little bit more of the speed stick, and try not to splash all over the place. And if you like, you can add a drop of sherry in there. Nothing wrong with that. Could have put a cup of white wine in there earlier when everything was cooking. So there you have it. Kind of simple, quick, fast, and since it's summertime, I would serve this cold. I hope you enjoy it.